that is attached to the meeting invite.
Great.
And if anybody, so that's where we can like add agenda items and things like that. So I added a number of things to discuss today, but of course, like as we move forward, folks just go in and add whatever you like. Let's wait one more minute for Carlton. Okay, maybe we can get started and then he'll join when he's able. We got feedback from Hogan Lovells that they are recommending, I asked for a few different quotes, and the ones that they came back with that were reasonably priced and also reputable were Straws, Friedberg, and Unit 42. They have worked with both of these vendors before and said that both of them have actually been, and the folks that would be involved in leading the technical portion of the activity have been involved in major cybersecurity incidents, and so they feel very confident with both of these potential vendors. They do recommend Straws. That's their preference. Do you guys have any experience with either of these vendors?
I was gonna say, I know Unit 42, if we're referring to the same company as Palo Alto, which is already a very established vendor for us here at Grail. So that would be a route in terms of, maybe being able to onboard them quickly. We might already have potential hours with them too, in terms of cutting down on cost. I mean, that's definitely something we can explore. But in terms of Straws, I haven't heard of Straws before, but Unit 42, I'm pretty sure it's referring to Palo Alto Networks, which is a very big vendor for us in the IT network security world.
Yeah, they're a division of Palo Alto.
Yeah.
I think a third one on the list is, I believe Avi was talking with PwC about potentially supporting on the security technical side. So I want to touch base with him as to whether that was, he's going to move forward with them and they would partner with Hogan, or whether we had to go with one of these two.
So is that an additional company he's looking into, Andrew?
Yeah, I believe he was talking to PwC about it.
I think we should go with one of the two companies suggested by Hogan. I don't think we should try and bring in a third player at this point, especially as we're trying to monitor cost.
Yeah, go ahead, Carlton, sorry.
Yeah, I think we're in a very good place with Hogan in terms of cost as well, and where we're trying to go with this.
Yeah, so that's the other piece of information here. So with these two, if we pick either of these two vendors, we would actually, Hogan is offering a flat fee of $80K, and that's inclusive of the vendor as well. If we were to work with PwC, I don't know if we would get the benefit of that. I mean, we wouldn't get the benefit of that flat fee. I also, this is, definitely want to hear Avi's thoughts on this, but I think the thinking here was that this would very much sort of be an exercise that is going to be done under privilege, very much going to be sort of governed by our legal considerations, and so I'm leaning more towards going with the vendor that has an established relationship with our outside counsel. The other thing that is nice about these two vendors is that they could contract directly with Hogan. So we would not have to enter into any contracts directly with the vendor. We would just do, we would do everything as a pass-through with Hogan, which could be kind of nice and simplify things for us.
Mhm. Well, we can cover this on Monday when we talk with them as well.
So that meeting on Monday needs to be moved, because neither Avi nor,
Oh, that's right, he's out.
yeah, nobody's available that day. So we're gonna be moving that meeting. I think that there's a meeting on the 14th. Is that on the 14th? Yeah, Avi set up a meeting on the 14th with me and Carlton and Kathleen and this person from PwC to discuss. So we can hear his thoughts then. It might be a good idea to send an email to the team with this information now so we can get the conversation started.
Happy to do that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm totally happy to take care to do that as well if you prefer. I can summarize all the information that Hogan provided.
Okay, that works too.
Yeah. Do you have a sense of why Avi is leaning towards PwC?
I think because he's used them for exercises in the past and has been pleased with them.
Got it, okay.
So I think it's a relationship with the firm and knowing what they can do. Firm does a lot of tabletops as well. So for the technical side.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. I'll send an email, and then we can kind of take it from there. Hogan's proposal was that the vendor would lead a 2-hour technical portion, and then Hogan would lead a 2-hour management and executive portion.
Splitting it makes a lot of sense because that lets us really exercise the details in the plan and give executives only the decisions that they'd be required to make.
Yeah. Okay. Then the other thing I wanted to just chat about was potential dates. I sent out a couple of just holds for the first and then second weeks in October.
I think that's smart because in theory that means we'd be able to run the exercise, have a couple of weeks for reporting, and have a readout before the holiday break.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then hopefully get started on remediation in 2026.
So next earnings call is August 12th, so 3 months after that would have us then in September, October, November, so we should be clear there as well in terms of being
Awesome.
early enough from, we're after quarter close, but prior to what I'm guessing the next earnings call will be. Again, as we talk about backwards mathing for the executive team.
Do you know where that information's available?
The earnings call things?
Yeah, like the timing of it? Or when
Yeah, press releases.
Oh, okay, so we already
Right.
told that.
Investor relations, yeah. So we've announced that we're going to post market on August 12th, release financial data.
And then it's 3 months
Yeah.
from when we would do our next one. And then what about like the audit committee or other things that we need to think about?
Good question. That's a Sotman and Avi question in terms of when do they have to present again.
Okay.
So I know that a couple of times a year, I feel like they presented recently.
To the board meeting?
That's right. Yeah.
I think there might be one sometime, it could be this week or next week. 'Cause I just finalized some metrics for Sotman last week on the privacy side, and I believe he said that it's gonna be early August, but I could be wrong.
Okay. Okay, cool, so that sounds good. And then, I started just putting together, a list of participants. This is just like, literally, I just like, this morning just started adding people off the top of my head. So if folks could start to populate that, would definitely appreciate it. That way, that will help us with scheduling as well.
Do we have our scenario yet?
No, we do not. In order to put that stuff together, we need the go-ahead from leadership about what vendor we're going to be working with.
Okay, well, I mean, we can internally decide what scenario we want the vendor to kind of act on, right? And then from that, at least we can start to determine what people would need to be a part of the group. And then, of course, you know, working with the vendor to expand on the details of it as well.
Yeah, I think that would be a good idea.
Okay.
I think that's how we approached it the last time, right, Ryan?
Yeah, it was, yeah. And partially the reason why we did, I mean, last time, you know, we came up with a scenario and I expanded on it even more myself before the vendor, just because we need to expedite it a little bit. But we can definitely start with the base scenario in terms of just like what systems we want to have impacted. I believe I'm assuming that we're doing something associated with ransomware. So if we're selecting that, and then we can just kind of select, okay, what areas do we want ransomware to have impact, or what systems is going to be impacted, and then we can determine what technical stakeholders would potentially have to be there for that.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So what is the process for doing that? And that leads me to another question, which is, how does it work in terms of who then becomes like, read in for the scenario to make sure that we don't have too many people who are aware of what's gonna happen ahead of time?
That's a good question. I mean, anybody in this call right now, right, or anybody who's on this meeting is going to be essentially a trusted advisor, right? I mean, like, we're going to have full knowledge of it. And then obviously, as we maybe pull other people in, they would become somewhat trusted advisors as well. I mean, we kind of just have to draw the line between, okay, we'll all know what the scenario is and work with the vendor for the full breakdown of all the injects most likely. And then, on the day of, right, when we decide our participants, those people will just all be read in, and we can assign roles to them as well.
I think that's spot on. And as we look at the invites list, I think Danny, you and I can probably take a good cut at that management executive portion based on the updates we're making to the plan. That's who would be involved there. Yeah. And then we'll probably have some updates to that based upon ransomware focus, potentially. On the technical piece, we're gonna want to read in as few people as possible. Yeah. One, to limit the likelihood of scenario getting at, and two, because we want to really focus on the decisions and not too much of the gory details of it, right? So for the technical piece, we need a couple of checks on just technical feasibility. So it says, it would never happen, it couldn't happen, right? We need close enough to reality that we don't get that reaction. So we need a person or two to verify, okay, yeah, that's actually possible, or hey, it'd be really hard for that to happen, but I guess maybe. And he goes some details about impact, really. From there, though, we should be off to the races, and we want to not prevent people from being players. Danny, given your role, there may be a part where you know what's happening. We need for you to not jump to chapter 6 as they're going through something, right? And just help steer and guide based on what they're saying. But other than that, and Ryan, same goes for you in the technical piece, there may be some part where you know what's ahead, and we need you to not make sure we can't get the valuable findings we need by just moving things along without revealing anything else in the scenario.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, also just so everybody's aware, no matter what, even for how much we do or don't give to people or let them know, there's always gonna be people who are gonna be like, yeah, that's very infeasible. Like, that would never happen. It's like, nah, well, we gotta assume in a lot of places, and you just gotta play into it. But yeah, we'll try to get as close as we can without revealing as much as we can as well.
Yeah, that's where the facilitators will come in and they'll say, hey, look, don't fight the scenario, right? Yeah. To everybody. And hey, it's designed the way it is. Like our one that we did down at RTP. We designed it for the learning purposes, roll with it.
Exactly.
One of the good things about working with the technical vendor too, and working with Hogan, is that their intention is to really take a leading role with our input and based on our parameters, to really be the ones that are driving the creation of the scenario, so as few of us need to know what it is ahead of time as possible, so that more of us can participate in it. But definitely makes sense that the folks that are in this planning group will need to have visibility, right?
Yeah.
This is one of those things where if we want to have the breakout sessions like we talked about, Nora, we'll have to give that as a design requirement to whichever vendor's building it, and then say, hey, if you and Carlton are going to be part of that initial analysis for materiality, do we break up the parts that we're talking about in the scenario? And do you talk about security parts, and do you drop from the call and then rejoin when you talk about those parts, or whatever, however much detail you do or you don't want to hear?
Yeah.
We can manage around that in terms of working with the vendor.
Yeah, makes perfect sense. So then in terms of next steps on the scenario, and Danny, I see you've put these questions in.
Yeah, I was just thinking, I was thinking, and Ryan kind of jumped in already, so these are the things that was on my mind, and kind of Ryan and I would kind of resonate a little bit with from Incident Commander side. What is the scenario? What is the input? What is output? What's needed from our end? And I was just thinking out loud when you guys was talking. I just jogged some note down there,
Yeah, so what are our thoughts then? Do folks think it would be helpful on the technical side to start putting together some, rather than, because I think our hey Janet, our hope is to offload as much of this as possible onto the vendors and onto the vendor and to Hogan. Could we give them concepts and systems and things like what's our next step in terms of how do we advise them on what we need them to do for us?
Good question. So I would expect that in talking with the vendor, if we came to the table and said, hey, there are a couple of key things we want to make sure the scenario hits upon. We want there to be uncertainty as to whether we have to report to SEC or not.
Mm-hmm.
So that it goes to our SEC materiality committee and we have to make a decision on it. We need you to design a scenario where that's a distinct discussion that's happening in a breakout room and something else is happening on the security side at the same time. We want to see escalation going from the technical side. We want to have tangible business impact that's externally visible. And we would probably pick a system that's a crown jewel at that point, right? So we would pick what is most damaging to the company and what will get executives' attention the most when they're forced to make a decision on pay, no pay. The vendor will ask us, hey, are you comfortable getting to the pay or no pay decision, or did we get right up to the line in the exercise? Something for us to figure out. Are we comfortable bringing it to that point, forcing an actual pay or no pay in the room? I found it's very helpful if you set the expectation that we're going to run through to that point. And that if there's not alignment in terms of who's involved, this is a great way to figure that out.
And so, Andrew, do you think both of those breakout kind of type scenarios could happen concurrently, or are we doing one?
That's exactly right. So what I'm proposing is that we would ask the vendor to have there be a branch in the scenario. So we'd hit a certain point, they'd launch into 2 breakout rooms in Zoom. We'd have the security incident being managed by the incident response team. And we'd have legal break off and try and figure out materiality. Then they would come back from the deliberations of materiality and inform, hey, based upon our established criteria and our materiality framework, we think we have to report here. Because otherwise everybody else is going to be watching deliberations and give them visibility into a process.
Okay.
But at the same time, they'd be sitting idle for 20 or 30 minutes, which is hard, especially virtually, to maintain attention in my experience. If you don't have everybody engaged in something that they believe is tangible for them.
Although FYI,
That's
we are
exact-
trying to do as much of this live as possible. So I know like Carlton and I will be flying out there, the vendor and Hogan will be there. So hopefully we can get as many people in the room as possible. Sorry,
I
Jen, I
think it's a good
interrupted.
idea.
I was just gonna, concur that, yeah, that's, what we typically do, in like a, large scale executive level, tabletop. I think, Colton, you were in the 2023 one that we did, right? So we, had a big room, we had a small room right next to it, and at one point, like Nadine and Abram and, Sanam and some of the execs, we broke away into the smaller room on the side for do we pay the ransom or not kind of conversation.
I think I just want to supplement what Andrew and Janet mentioned. So given we have time constraint, right? We have 2 hours. Is that correct? 2 hours?
No, we have 4 hours
4 hours?
total.
Okay, 4 hours.
There's 2 hours for the proposal is 2 hours for the technical portion, 2 hours for the executive management portion. That's the proposal right now, but we can play with that. Sorry, I interrupted.
How many reps is Hogan gonna send us? Are they gonna have like, one each at least manning the 2 rooms? Like did they send us SOW on how it's gonna turn out yet?
No, we're still working all of that out, but it'd be 2 lawyers.
But it likely be 2, yeah. Paul and Laura.
Yeah, they should have at least 2 contacts for us. Sorry, I think I interrupted Danny.
Oh, no, I was thinking because it's kind of managing the clock, right? We have 4 hours to play with. What are the things that we want to achieve that? I think we need to have a checklist. And sometimes, when we that scenario, the discussion go off tangent, right? In that 5 minutes, it's up to 10 minutes, and we don't get other things done. And I recommend we really have a detailed checklist. In this 15 minutes, we want to do this. This is the expected outcome. And we should have a facilitate saying, okay, we're moving on to the next step, but there's no resolution, so we manage the clock, right? We don't lose, we manage the clock, and this way we make sure we have a clear scope defined, and we manage the clock. I think that's the key thing, right? So we don't go off tangent talking about this for 30 minutes and we lose the time. So I think that's what I recommend because when I was at Apple, we do the deployment, I was managing the checklist. We managed the clock, make sure everything was done properly, and we managed the result. This way we don't give out tangents. So a detailed time managed checklist. 15 minutes, we'll do this. If nothing happens, let's move on to the next one. We document it so we don't forget about this. A proper documentation is always needed, of course.
Right, and that's another great thing about having the facilitator.
Exactly. So takeaway is time management. What we're going to do in that 4 hours.
Did Hogan give some kind of I don't know if you should call it project plan or activities on how they're gonna fleshing things out? Have they shared like a preview of how this is how typically what a facilitator will do during the exercise yet?
So we're still very much at the beginning stages of this, although we are making progress, making a lot of progress. I sent you, so they're waiting for us to actually formally engage them for this, which we have not done yet. And so the first thing that we need to do, and really the gating thing right here, is for us to get approval from the management team to engage with Hogan Lovells, and they have recommended working with either Strauss Friedberg or Unit 42. Those are vendors that they have worked with on this type of thing before. They were able to offer us a flat rate of $80K all in for everybody. It sounds like there's some interest in exploring, and Avi has some interest in exploring PwC as the technical vendor. So we have to think about, whether we go in that direction, and if so, how does that change the cost, and can Hogan work with them? And there are a lot of benefits from, I think there are a lot of benefits to having the all-in package with Hogan, personally, but we'll pose that question to the leadership and see what they say. It's not until we get that go-ahead that we'll get an actual project plan and scope. Right now, the vendors don't even know who we are. We had Hogan reach out to them on a no-name basis to get a flat rate quote for us. So to answer your question, no. We don't yet have anything formal from them. We have a couple steps we need to take before we get there.
And how are they gonna coordinate with, I think Newfront is our cyber insurance vendor, right? Are we, really just gonna, do role play and somebody pretend to be Newfront, or will Hogan actually engage Newfront in the process for us? And do we have to pay both vendors, or Hogan's gonna cover it?
So I think to Nora's point, we aren't necessarily there yet. I think we're at the point we're at is we need to make a decision on which vendor. So it's either one of the two recommended by Hogan. And then at the beginning stage of this call, we were made aware that there's a potential third vendor, which is PwC. So I think once we get to the point where we've, pick a vendor, then we can start having those discussions, Janet, on what the game plan or workbook is going to look like.
I would anticipate we would engage the cyber insurer, and that we would just write in to the scenario.
I think
there, and that usually the way that I would see this play out in scenarios and exercises would be we had a discussion in the team. Hey, our retainer is X payment. We have coverage up to Y, and that'd be part of the calculus that the team was using. But that they wouldn't need any direct input from the cyber insurer at that point.
Yeah, it would likely be a role play based on experience as well, Andrew.
A ransomware negotiator, same kind of deal, where we get a role play negotiator as opposed to an actual asset that we would use during a management.
And if Hogan thinks it's, if they recommend actually engaging, then I think that's something that we would have to reach out to our rep and prep them for that as well.
Yeah, I think it's necessary to make sure that they're gonna coordinate with the cyber insurance, at least, as part of the scenario. I think that is the part where, it was a little bit lightweight in 2023. What's the one vendor? Sorry, you said some vendor or Unit 42.
Strauss Bradford.
Yeah, so Strauss, I don't think I saw it in the insurance approved vendor. So our insurance is done through like Enbridge, and then the broker is Newfront. I mean, I'm still like sorting out all the relationship. It's confusing. And then like Newfront has some kind of list of vendors. I'm very sure that CrowdStrike and Unit 42 by Palo Alto, they are approved technical vendors. So Unit 42 is not going to be a problem. But I don't believe I've seen Strauss in the list. But I could be off. I'm trying to like locate.
Why does the insurance? Why does the cybersecurity insurance have how does that factor into our selection of a technical vendor for the tabletop?
We have to use approved vendors by the insurance, or we may risk not a full payout.
But I'm sorry, I don't understand. This is a tabletop exercise, so I guess I'm not understanding.
Yeah.
So if we
the approved vendors, if we actually had an incident and we're consulting with an outside vendor to do the forensic and all that stuff, that's what I would imagine or think. The use of an approved vendor, we could just arbitrarily select a vendor that's not approved by the cyber insurance insurer, but this is a tabletop exercise, so.
And they're not like our forensics or anything, they're just helping us run this, they're just helping us facilitate simulate tabletop.
No, I'm not referring to Hogan, I'm referring to the Strauss something. So if you're debating between Strauss and Unit 42, I would say go with Unit 42 as part of your response to Hogan. If that is an either or situation, because Unit 42, we know for sure it's cyber insurance approved, right? Because at the end of the day, any objective of incident simulation is to mimic real life scenarios, right? We're not trying to mimic, okay, we're gonna use a vendor that is not cyber insurance approved in a real life scenario. We're actually gonna try to, make it as real as possible. I'm not saying Hogan doesn't be the facilitator. I'm really just saying, if the straws versus Unit 42 is an either or situation, then respond with Unit 42, please.
Yeah, I guess I'm just still not, I must be missing something I don't understand, because like they're facilitating a tabletop exercise. Straws would be working with Hogan to facilitate a tabletop exercise. Our cyber insurance isn't going to be involved in this. I'm not understanding. So I think that's something that we can explore and figure out. Hogan did recommend that we use straws. We can definitely talk about using Unit 42. I just want to better understand. Have other people seen that you need to, with using a technical tabletop vendor, you need to have your cyber insurance approve it?
Is the argument, Janet, that we're gonna build a relationship with some vendor doing this? If we're gonna do that, build a relationship with a vendor that we could use in an actual live response as well?
I'm trying to say that due to the existence of cyber insurance, the technical vendors that is pre-approved by our cyber insurance coverage has already been determined before, this conversation. So we want to use as many vendors that is in the cyber insurance approved list as possible, especially the technical vendors. I'm not making any suggestion on who should be the facilitator, because facilitator, it doesn't matter, but.
That's what we're talking about here, though. We're talking about facilitators.
But I'm referring to the straws.
And they would be the facilitator.
Oh, Strauss is a facilitator?
Yes.
So Hogan outsourced to Strauss.
They'd be working together
Okay.
as facilitators. So Straws would facilitate the technical portion in consultation with Hogan.
Okay.
They're going to work together to facilitate. So we're just talking about facilitators for
okay.
tabletop exercise.
Yeah, thank you for the clarification. I thought it was a parallel vendor as the Unit 42. Please continue.
Okay, so sounds like then we still can have both on the table for consideration as well as PwC. In terms of next steps, it sounds like maybe we can do in tandem. I can send an email to the leadership with questions about next steps on Hogan's proposal and who we want to work with on the technical side, and then would Danny and Ryan and Andrew and folks, would you be willing to start thinking about the types of things that we want to hit in a scenario, so that when we are good to go with the vendors, that we already have a sense of what we want to talk to them about?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
we can start doing a working session for that. I think, and sorry to cut you off, Andrew, but I think from our side, we just need to maybe understand some of the requirements in your mind that we would need to hit when it comes to scenario. So I think you start with in terms of maybe what we're trying to test, and then you build back into okay, what's a scenario that's going to get us to that point. From the security side, it makes a lot of sense in terms of how we want to test our incident response plan, but also from the privacy perspective, I think we just need your guys' input.
Well, I put together a draft list. Nora, I'll share that with you and Carlton, and make sure I've got it right. See if there's anything else on your list. Then Ryan, we can move forward with you, me and Danny, have another session parallel, and we can include both those topics. But let me take a first cut and see if there's anything else that you want on the list from things that I'm familiar with on the privacy side.
Yeah, and then also on the legal side, so the SEC considerations and things.
Yeah.
I'll say, I need to hop to another meeting, but the only other thing I wanted to just, mention again, between straws and Unit 42, I did mention it earlier, so I confirmed with Alex, we do have hours with Unit 42, and I imagine those can be repurposed for tabletop, so I'm pretty sure, you know, if there's a place to save money, that would be the route to go.
Okay, that's great.
I can double check with Unit 42 or with our Palo Alto rep if we can repurpose those or use those hours towards the tabletop, just to confirm that, but I'd be surprised if we wouldn't be able to.
Okay, that's awesome.
Can I say that I think Strauss should be able to maybe share a sample SOW to understand the typical engagement. I understand they're saying we need formal approval, but what are we approving? That is a little bit of a chicken egg. I mean, at least I usually ask vendor to give me a sample SOW, right? Because like they usually will have to, do a little bit of an architecture analysis. Okay, like this is your ransomware incident. It's gonna touch these, components, and they'll inventory all your existing policy procedures, do some analysis. They'll, like interview some of the people to, work on the scenarios. I know we're, doing some of this internally based on where the discussion is going. But in the meantime, like, what if they have a different approach? I just wanted to make sure that we have something from them.
Well, I think once we decide on a vendor, Janet, that's the plan of action from Hogan. I think everything is going to be done under attorney-client privilege, so we're likely going to be getting an SOW as well. It's similar to the last engagement.
Yeah. But I mean, you already have NDA with Hogan, right? So that's where I was, maybe it's just me. I just feel like it's a little bit of a chicken and egg situation if they're saying approve first and then we're gonna give you the SOW. I feel like it should be the other way around.
So as soon as they start working for us, the clock on the 80K starts to run. So we need management's approval to say, like, we're good, we're gonna work on this project. And Hogan is, the proposal is actually that Hogan can kind of drive all of this and we'll manage the technical vendor. So I totally hear what you're saying, but I'm not sure how much like prep work we can ask them to do before we can ask leadership if we're good to move forward with the engagement. The benefit of working with Hogan is that we trust them implicitly. We know they're gonna set us up with a good vendor. We know they're gonna, they do these all the time. So I think, we should be able to get a thumbs up from leadership on, moving forward before we start doing any real serious prep work.
I'm not disagreeing with you. Maybe I'm just getting a little bit confused about the chicken and egg situation. But regardless, we follow your lead, right? So I'm sharing a file here. I think this came from the cyber insurance via finance at some point. This is their, I guess, cyber approved vendors list. It probably, changes from time to time, and I did that, maybe Strauss is this one? Is this the one?
Yes.
Oh, okay, all right, cool. Then, perfect, it's already, both are covered. Yeah, I mean, if you want it, I can forward it, that was, my understanding.
So it sounds like we have a good plan of action moving forward. And we have our next one of these, I think, set up for, oh, you know what? We actually have one set up for next week. I'm happy to, I think we had to move this one so the cadence got a little bit wonky. I'm happy to move next week's the 19th, unless we want just to meet again next week, do a check-in, and then pick back up with bi-weekly after that.
Yeah.
What do folks prefer?
I think it's good to have a check-in.
Next week?
Yeah.
Yeah, weekly would be good.
Yeah.
Otherwise, between August and September, it goes very fast.
Yeah,
Of
we're
October.
looking at, first week or second week of October, Janet.
Yeah, I already accepted the placeholders. That's why I said it actually goes very fast.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, everybody.
All right, talk to you later. Thank you.
Thanks.